Welcome to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, your host. Glad you could join me today. Very exciting podcast coming up, talking to some friends about how their season went. Who could get tired of that? I learn something every time I talk with somebody about some aspect of their season, whether it's someplace new to go or a tip or a technique, a hint or a hack, whatever it is. I've got two good friends coming up to talk about that, give us the lowdown, if you will. But that's not all. Got a great question from a listener that I will answer in our Fix It segment. Older hunter, older dog, should I get another one? Well, the answer is complicated, as you will listen very soon. And then, of course, the Fur Feathers Friends Word of the Week, and it is a good one. The prize as well, from TrulockChokes.com. So stick around for all of that, as well as some inspiration from all of you on where you went last season if you traveled across a state border. Maybe an idea or two in there for you as well. And it's all made possible by PointerShotguns.com, MidValleyClays.com, TrulockChoketubes.com, MidwayUSA.com, Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food. Well, the wild bird season ended quite a few weeks ago for me. Can you believe it's March? But one last trip to the first hunting preserve I've been to in 5 years, I'll bet. Took my veterinarian of 25 years. He retired quite a while ago, but he started me. First met him when I brought my first bird dog puppy in for his 8-week checkup. And we've been friends ever since. He's bent over backwards for us here at the home ranch in many, many ways. Finally, though, and I'm embarrassed to say it, it took me this long to go hunting with him. He was a fanatic chukar hunter, horseback chukar hunter a lot of times. And boy, the stories he's told over the years, we relived a bunch of those, which is a great enough reason to sit in the truck with him. And then we had a good time on some preserved pheasants, and turned out just great for all of us. And true to form, knock wood, dry ground yet again. Well, I shouldn't say dry, damp ground, but no snow. So thanks, Lanny, for going along. Had a great time with you. Sorry it took us so long to find a date that would work for both of us. You, on the other hand, are glad to share some inspiration with us. I asked on the social media pages, and this one in particular was on the Upland Nation podcast page. So thank you all for responding. I asked a simple question. Did you travel out of state this year? And if you did, where'd you go? And yes, nobody gave me the latitude and longitude on their best spots. But I got some great inspiration from some interesting places, and maybe you too. I don't know about you, but I'm laying out all next season, literally on the calendar, and trying to figure out where I might go that's a little different and new, and hopefully snow-free. So here are some of your responses. Stephen Robbins, who went to Wisconsin. Okay, he must be a grouse hunter. I don't think they had a sharp-tail season this past year. So Sal Sorrento, another grouser, I bet, in Michigan. Walt and Jess Hetland have been to Arizona, high on my list. Gary Rothrock, New York. Yeah, had a great time up there once many years ago for a TV shoot. Beautiful country, especially if you go up the Hudson Valley. Jonathan Feldhaus, North Dakota, Kansas, from South Carolina. That's a long drive. Haven't done it in that direction, but I'll tell you, it takes enough time just to get across Kansas, let alone from South Carolina. Mike Hendricks, North Dakota, South Dakota. Yeah, why not? Michigan and West Virginia for Darren Zexer. Skip Richmond, man, I'm glad I don't have your fuel bill. Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, New York, and Georgia. Hope the Bob Whites cooperated. West Virginia for Dale Whitehurst. Paul Dietrich, maybe next season. John Lewis, Montana and Arizona. What a great combination. You know, you could do worse than to make those your only 2 out-of-state trips every season. Stephen Dunsmore went to Michigan. Paul Nortier went to Maine. George Gomez, jealous again. We will talk, my friend. Big Sky Country. Yeah, looks like a good hunt, too. A couple beautiful short hairs posed with a couple sharp-tailed grouse there. Michigan, Idaho, Wyoming for Marshall Gillespie. Wyoming is on the list. Boy, I am so happy to hear that. You know, in the survey I do every year, about 2/3 of you cross a state line to hunt at least once every season. And there's something there for everybody, whether it's the people you meet, the different kinds of scenery, maybe a new bird species, whatever it is. We are in this in part for the adventure. And where do you get that? New places. They say, you know, watch enough public television, they'll tell you that travel broadens us. It makes us better people. Well, they might have a different definition of better people than most of us, but it is true. You become a different and ideally better person when you get outside your comfort zone, which is your area code, maybe your zip code, or whatever. Glad to hear all that, and it's got me inspired. I'm working on the last part of the season tonight at home, so maybe one of those will be on. No, I know a couple of those will be on the list. Thank you all for being a part of the Upland Nation. That's how we do it around here. We share ideas, and we inspire each other. That's what it's all about. That portion of the show brought to you by Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School. Learn more at midvalleyclays.com. Whether you're shopping for a shotgun or you need help in your shooting, they're both for everybody. Take a lesson over there if you're in Western Oregon or just passing through. If you're shopping for a shotgun, Dave Fiedler is the gun guru. Start your search by making a phone call to Dave. Tell him I sent you. He'll be happy to counsel with you. Before you get too far down the road, you might be surprised at some of the questions he'll ask and some of the answers you'll give and how that will affect your shotgun choice. Welcome again, ProPlansport.com. Yeah, Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food back on board as another sponsor. Year begins for them. Sure appreciate their support, and so do you, of course. They're there at every stage of your dog's life, and they have a formulation of Pro Plan Sport dog food for your puppies, your older dogs, if they have a problem-solving issue, whatever, they've got it. Go to ProPlansport.com, take a look at all the formulations. Remember, they're all created with the best science and a high-protein formula with real meat as the first ingredient. 100% complete and balanced nutrition for highly active dogs like yours and mine. ProPlansport.com. Well, I only see her at Pheasant Fest. I used to see her at some NAVDA training events. In fact, that's the first time we met. And I guess we have Katie to thank for that. But Amanda Ponti, welcome to the Upland Nation podcast.
Hey, Scott. Great to be here.
You've come a long way, as they say on television, since I saw you last. In fact, I don't know if maybe that was you had just gotten a puppy or two at that point, and that wasn't that long ago, was it?
I think we met right after I got my wire hair, who was a year old, and so that would have been my second dog. Yeah, it's been, 5 years now. That
long? Oh, I'm embarrassed. But that's all right. That's better than this is the Scott embarrassment episode. I confessed earlier that I'd had a great veterinarian for most of my dog career, and only Last week did I take him hunting for the first time. So we're doing better than most in that regard.
Yes.
So most of us don't know near enough about you, and you've gotten pretty active in our world, and we are going to debrief your hunting season. That's the whole point. But in a nutshell, how'd you get into this game and why?
Yeah, so I got a bird dog in 2017 after my house burned down. So a little bit of a unique story, and just I needed something that was going to be a positive outcome of a really crappy situation. And so after a year of dealing with insurance and rebuilding and sort of picking up the pieces, I had come across the need for a dog. And so I was like, I'm going to get a dog. Never hunted before. Grew up in a family where my dad had labs, but wasn't really into taking the girl children of his life hunting. So my brother went hunting with him, but I did not. And I went out in search of a dog, and I found a post on Pinterest, ironically enough, of a German Shorthair Pointer puppy. And I was like, I have to have one of these. And so I enlisted the help of my friend at the time, Dominic, and sent him the photo and was like, I'm going to get this or a pit bull. And of course, Dominic's an avid hunter, and he was like, let's get a short hair. And so he went down a rabbit hole of finding a breeder for me, and reached out to them and got on their puppy list, and ended up picking up my puppy, I think 2 months after I moved back into my rebuilt house. And so in having that puppy, a little short hair puppy, it was interesting to see the way that the bird world connected for her, and just knowing that there was more than I was able to offer her in my sort of like lackadaisical exercise program, trying to get outside and be more positive, and just really needing to lean into what she was bred for. And so that led me to NAVDA, to doing a natural ability test with her, which led me into this community of wonderful people. And the next thing I knew, I was carrying a shotgun and shooting birds for my dog and picking up a second dog, and it's all just exploded from there. I promise when we do these, I promise listeners that we're going to be inspired in one way or another, and you just did that for me. I'm just loving that story. It's a little similar to mine. You came into it slightly before I did from a chronological standpoint, but you've gotten some things out of it that you don't cook up and put on a plate. Can you summarize that? I mean, what else is it about this world that's really done well for you? Yeah, I think like what's most important to me about the upland community and more family, as I would describe it today, is like this sense of belonging. So I think from an outside perspective looking in, it looks like there's not room for anyone else, right? Like if you're brand new to this, it's intimidating. But once you step foot in, it is the most welcoming, loving, inspiring community there is. And I have really found my people in the upland world. I mean, we're going to talk about hunting trips, but I spend from September to February chasing birds with some of the most incredible people on the planet. And very, very infrequently do you find people that don't want you right beside them, sharing that adventure and that joy. And just really, it's a community, it's a safe space, it's best friends and family. And that has been just an incredible world I didn't even know existed.
I've been around the block a couple times, and I probably lorded that over you the first time we met. Hey, I like to think I can help you, and people do. But and I've griped about it too in another world or two that I'm involved in. That it's not those things you just said. You've got some magic somewhere in there. You are doing it the right way. If you were to suggest that somebody, well, you want to try and get into this world, what's your attitude? What do you do the first time you go to a NAVDA training day or to a chapter meeting or whatever? Is there something you do? Are you an expert at winning friends and influencing people? What's the technique?
I'm far from an expert on many things, Scott, but I think just showing up with an attitude ready to learn, the more willing you are to help. And even when you know nothing, there is still help that can be done.
Yeah.
It takes about a 5-minute show and tell to teach someone how to plant a bird, or to run a bird, or, there's just so many things at a NAVHDA training day or event that you can get your hands dirty. And they want help. Like, everyone would love more help at those things. And so just really showing up with an attitude that you're not there to self-serve. Like, training days are never about my dogs and the outcome. That's just, a sub outcome of what happens. But I'm there to make sure that other people have help and support. And that's all because I got that help and support to start with. So if you're showing up brand new at something, just be willing to help, be willing to learn, know that you're not the expert. A lot of people there aren't the expert either. They're just willing to teach you what they know.
Yeah.
And take what you're given and really source out like what is valuable to you and what maybe just noise, and run with it.
Well said. And I would only add to that, a lot of people ask me, I think I want to do all this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean that in the best of ways. I'm sorry. That didn't come out right. But you know what I mean? But I tell them, go to those events even before you have a dog. And start paying your dues. And I mean that in the best way too. It's not the price of admission, but you'll learn things that will help you when you do acquire a dog or two, or however many you're going to have. So great advice. And nobody offers that advice on how to fit in and be a part of the community from the, I guess I'll call it from the consumer side.
Yeah.
So Amanda, how was your bird season?
Oh my goodness, Scott. Every year I sit down at the end of the bird season and I think, I'm not going to top this one. And every year it gets better and better. So you watch bird dogs develop, you see them. Finn, my wire hair, is really in her prime now. She's 6, I think, going to be 7 this year. And so it just, watching all the pieces come together. What I have found joy in my recent hunting season is watching other people get there first. And that's just something I didn't even prepare for, because the last couple of years have been a lot of my own firsts and really learning and finding my footing, and then being able to turn that over and share those firsts with other people and watch them shoot birds over my dogs and over their dogs and just really see all these wins has been incredible. But oh man, what a bird season it was.
Tell me a little bit about it. Give me some of the gory details. And by that, I mean some of the highlights. I get what you mean. And again, I'm getting, in the South, they call it chicken skin, goosebumps.
Yes.
I'm getting them just listening to you, because you are so far beyond a lot of people. I apologize, everybody else, but it's true. At some point, we all want to help other people join in with what we love so much. Amanda, you've gotten there, at warp speed.
Yeah. So my group of girlfriends, we plan a kickoff week of, opening season week in September in Montana. And I think 5+ of us got together. A couple of other friends were traveling around the area. And so we rented an Airbnb, figured out our meal situation, and all just showed up with way too many dogs and ready for a good time. And we, get out there on opening morning on a spot that I just love and put the dogs down, and we're in birds within an hour, which, that's not something everyone can say. But so I've got a brand new-ish hunter. She's shot 1 or 2 birds. But she's never shot a sharp tail or sage grouse, and she's out there working her dog. She's got some cute little Vizslas, and she ended up connecting with a bird, I think, our 2nd or 3rd day, and just to see her hold her first bird in her hand and the joy that comes with that, it takes me back to my first sage grouse and one of my favorite hunts, and just knowing how awesome that success feels. And also got to watch my boyfriend get his first sage grouse over a point from my dog in a spot that I knew they were going to be from all of my, previous experience, and just really watching him put it together as a big game hunter, but not a super avid bird hunter, and getting to see all of that come together. Just it's almost better than shooting the birds myself. So I don't know.
I can't agree more. It's absolutely true. Tell me about your dogs and their work this year. How would you sum it up and then give me one of the highlights from one of them?
Yeah, so Finn, the wire hair, she's the dog that everyone dreams to have, and I'm adding a puppy here in a couple of weeks, so hoping that puppy will follow in her footsteps. But Finn, really, this was, I think, probably one of her best seasons, and just watching her covey after covey pin them down, stay there, like, you know, we make this joke that if you're not getting into birds, we just have to sit down for 5 minutes and take a break, because Finn will go on point 40 feet from us after every single break. And it's like laughable at this point. People are like, oh, I don't believe that. And every time she does it. And then I just, you know, I'm holding the e-collar and I'm just like, hey guys. And they're just like, no, it's not true. And so, you know, she's just really having a rock star time, and all of the hard training work has come together at this point. So it's really been great to enjoy her. My short hair is definitely my first dog. She I refer to her as my German short hair flusher every once in a while. So when she points, it's beautiful. She just can't decide if she wants to hold or not. And when she does, it's perfect. And when she doesn't, it's frustrating. So she's moving along. I don't think I'm going to fix her, but she's great to have around.
You know, many careers ago, I was at a seminar and the guy said, blah, 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 my pancake child, blah, blah, blah. And I said, what?
Yes.
And he said, well, you know, pancakes, the first one never turns out any good, so you throw it away.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I got a pancake dog right now, but I don't dare throw it away. And Bill, I know you're up there waiting for me to come flush that next bird. Knows see you soon.
Yeah.
Not too soon.
Yes.
Okay. But you have one too.
Oh, that is the best description of her. You know, she knows the game. She just doesn't always want to play it. And then that's fine.
You went to Montana.
I did.
I can't believe we didn't cross paths. I was there longer than I usually am, but maybe next season.
Yeah.
Did you visit any other? Where are you living these days, by the way?
That's a great question, Scott. So my home base is in Northern California, up on the Oregon-Nevada border. And so I'm here sometimes, but I have somehow created a life where I get to work from where the Wi-Fi is. And so from September to February, the Wi-Fi is where the birds are.
Yeah.
So you'll find me on the road. So I spent the majority of September and part of October up in Montana, came home to California to chase quail and chukar for a couple of months, and then went back to Montana to chase pheasants, came back home for a little bit, and then headed down to New Mexico, which was actually a new state for me to hunt this year. And man, what a challenging but rewarding hunt.
You know, I'd sum it up the same way. I was there for a show a few years back, and it was hard hunting. It was different than everything I've ever done before. What most surprised you about New Mexico hunting?
I think just how truly dry the environment is. So I've hunted in Arizona 3 years now. And it's dry, but it's nothing in comparison to New Mexico, and the impact that dryness has on the dogs.
Yeah.
And just like scenting conditions are tough for them. Like I trust Finn more than I trust anyone else, and just watching her try to figure it out and get stumped and knowing there were birds there, but just really not being able to find them, and the water that you burn through and the boot leather that you burn through down there. Just, you know, it just, I talked to a friend who lives down there and hunts down there a billion days a year. And he's like, you know, it's nothing in comparison to the mud of the chukar season and those steep hills. And I'm like, take me back to the chukar. I'm done with this. You know? Amen.
I know the feeling. Scalies and gambles down there. Is that what you were chasing?
Yeah. And got my first mern.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never got around to that. We were too busy chasing those other two.
Oh man, scalies are fun. There's nothing quite like them.
Well, you know, all my other scaled quail hunting has been basically run and gun stuff. But we were able to get some points and some pretty decent dog work at times on those birds. Are they still running most of the time for you?
Yeah, I'd say most of the time. We did get some really good held pins, and got to shoot covey rises over dogs, probably more times than not. But man, to pin those birds down, you got to be committed to the mission.
Well, you are a Rhodes Scholar. Yeah, that's ROAD this time around. And you probably have learned a few things covering that many miles over the season. If you were to suggest anything from a practical standpoint for anybody who's making a long road trip, what would it be?
That's actually a great question. I think it really behooves you to take a look at the weather where you're going, even though it's ever changing. And I would say pack for everything, be prepared. I think also just keep in mind that you're not always putting your dog in a box for 8+ hours a day. And so, expect a little naughtiness when you get there, and the first couple of days work the kinks out, because they've traveled just as long as you have. So, I think low expectations in the first couple of days, higher expectations as they work the kinks out, and just enjoy it. Like, every trip that you get to go on it should be more fun than not.
Amen to that. You know, you said your first Montana trip of the year is basically a gang hunt. You know, you got a lot of people there, and you all go to basically the same spot. When you get there,
yep,
do you all split up and go different directions? Does everybody hunt together with a mob of dogs?
Oh, Scott, we're a bunch of ladies, so there's not a lot of spreading out that happens in the field, because there's just too many laps to share. So very, very frequently we are walking, 10 to 15 feet apart within voice range, so we can make jokes and have a good time, and waiting for the dogs to go on point and following them wherever they're headed. So I think our hunts can mostly be described as following the bird dogs wherever they may lead.
Yeah.
And they really pick the path. But no, we're not out there spread apart, taking a good chunk out of a field. We're standing together and laughing at each other. So
I remember a few TV shoots in this deep South for bobwhites, and I called it a party with shotguns.
Yes. We're taking our guns for a walk. That's what we're after.
Yeah, good. Well, if you were to offer up one, I guess I'll call it one piece of gear, especially as a road scholar, but maybe it's just, all the miles on your feet, whether it's a piece of dog gear, safety gear, shooting gear, whatever else it is. What has really come in handy for you that maybe we hadn't even thought about putting in our vest or putting on our dog?
Yeah, I think in your vest, your most important thing to me is water. Yeah. So how you can carry, especially in the early season, especially down in New Mexico where it's hot, however you can carry the most amount of water in a vessel that will allow your dog to waste the least amount. And so really trying to find a good water bottle for your dog. I don't know that I've found it yet. I've been using some ones that Onyx gave away at Pheasant Fest, I think 2 years ago, that have a pretty solid top and don't leak everywhere.
Yeah.
But also having a reservoir of water in your bag so that you're not in the middle of the field with a hot dog, not able to cool them down. I do think one piece of gear that people overlook is your shotgun. And so I think there's a lot of back and forth, especially for the ladies, on what shotgun is the best shotgun. And to that, I say the one that fits you the best. So anyone out there looking for a shotgun recommendation, no one is going to be able to tell you what shotgun fits you the best unless they are a gun fitter. And so I constantly see people on Instagram and Facebook forums being like, what shotgun should I buy? And I'm like, and everyone's recommending their favorite one. And I'm like, none of those are going to be the best for you unless it fits. So I want to caution everyone who's out there picking up new guns, like really make sure that you're not listening to what your friend thinks is the best, or, some random person who has advice to offer, and go pick up guns, shoot them, get someone who knows how to fit a shotgun to tell you which one fits you the best, and then get that one, no matter which one it is.
Amen to that, and you're absolutely right. And I'll never forget. I was there when the siren from Fausti, not Fausti, those other guys, Guarini. When that came out, and it was designed for women, and there was different geometries and all of that sort of thing. And I get all of that, but what I would suggest is that a shorter stock is not the be all and end all. In fact, I know many people whose gun fitters have added length to their stock. So You're right. Get it done by somebody who knows a little bit about what they're doing, and you'll be a better shooter. And hey, that's what we're for. We're getting to fetch. So we'll do this again. I can't wait to see you in Kansas City at Pheasant Fest. In the meanwhile, glad you had such a great season. Amanda Ponti, thank you so much for being a part of the Upland Nation podcast.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Have a great day.
You too.
And the rest of you, don't go away. We've got another great guest coming up with some, different geography. Let me put it that way. And we'll probably learn some things that most of us could use some help with coming up in the second half of the Upland Nation podcast, as well as our Fix It segment, where we're going to talk a little bit about older dogs and older humans and that big decision about a puppy. So stick around for all of that. And, of course, our word of the week and the Fur Feathers Friends promotion brought to you by PointerShotguns.com. Set of Chad Hodge choke tubes is now the prize for the month of March. All of this, speaking of that, those choke tubes come from TrulockChokes.com. Thank you, Scott Trulock, for being a part of our Fur Feathers Friends event. Chad Hodge Upland chokes are now in stock. So if you're looking for a simple solution to hitting more birds, I would start with my choke tubes. Precision made with tight tolerances. They are the guys who are setting the standard in aftermarket choke tubes with a quality control program second to none. Made in the USA from USA-made steel. You cannot get any more patriotic than a Trulock choke. That's for sure. Learn more at TrulockChokes.com. And as Amanda said, find a shotgun that fits at PointerShotguns.com. Because they're getting shotguns through the pipeline every week, your dealer likely has what you're looking for in stock. Yeah, whether it's a Cerakoted finish, blued, nickel, silver, your first stop for an upgrade from one configuration to another ought to be PointerShotguns.com. Poke around, take a look at that new FT12 semi-auto. Yeah, manufactured suggested retail price of $499. You can't go wrong, whether it's a newcomer or you're going up the ladder to a different style of gun. Learn more at PointerShotguns.com. Okay is right. Welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast, and welcome for the first time from way up there in the northeast corner of the United States, Craig Morrison. Glad to have you on the Upland Nation podcast.
Well, glad to be here, Scott. I appreciate this.
I joke about it, but it's absolutely true. I always have fun when I am around that accent. So you got several big pairs of shoes to fill. And you Carter family people know what I mean. Anyway, Craig, we're talking about everybody's bird season and the highlights, the lowlights, the things that you learned, the things that we will learn from you learning from them instead. Upshot, how was your season?
So it was a funny season this year. It started out early in the year, like the numbers were through the roof. I said, this is going to be just a great year. I mean, we were moving crazy amount of woodcock, crazy amount of grouse, and then all of a sudden it was like they turned a faucet off for a week, and then the numbers of grouse fell down. The woodcock stayed pretty good. And then the third week, it was back. There was birds everywhere again. I do believe it had a lot to do with the weather pattern we had.
Yeah.
We had, like, it was cold earlier in October, end of September, and then we had a warm snap, and I think it drove the birds back into the swamps and stuff, into the cedar swamps.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then it got cold again and got some frost, and it brought them back out.
You know, you bring up a real good point, and I hadn't thought about that before until I was interviewing somebody a few weeks back, and they talked about how grouse in particular, they really like to cool off once in a while. And whether it's shade or, like you said, moist ground or whatever, at some point they have to do that. And you learned that the hard way, I guess.
Yes, very much so.
All in all, good, bad, in the middle, would you relive it, or would you prefer to move forward on that season?
So, I would say that on the woodcock side of it, I would say it was an above average. It wasn't the greatest year, but it was definitely an above average year. The grouse were probably right around average, maybe a little below average. So I would say it was probably overall, I guess, an average, a little above average year.
Yeah, yeah. You and most people, when I ask them how the season went, it was right in the middle there, and
yeah,
kind of hard to complain about that. But let's talk about woodcock for a minute. Most of us do not hunt woodcocks. We want to. I have a trophy alder trunk mounted on my office wall because that was the best thing I shot on my last woodcock hunt. But what is a good day in the field for woodcock? How many birds do you move? How many birds do you actually get a shot at? What kind of dog work can you expect? I know that's a big question. Break it down.
Right. So, as far as how many you're going to really see, I mean, you're going to hear more than you see early in the year because the cover up here is pretty thick.
Yeah.
So early with a lot of cover still on the trees, you'll get good dog work, and then after that, you may hear the bird, you may just get a glimpse of it going through the bushes, and but we usually, well, I can tell you just from last season there, I keep a little journal of it. The first week of October, we was moving around 72 birds a week, so anywhere between 20, 25, 30 birds a day.
Wow.
For woodcock.
Wow.
So
that's a good season for some people. I mean, you're a lucky guy if you're moving that many birds, period. Out of them, how many do you actually get a look at?
So early, not many.
Yeah.
Early, my clients that come in the early part of October, we hear more than we see. But we do get some good shots off, and they do shoot some birds. Come the second week, towards the end of the second week of October, a lot of the cover is either down or it's been shot down from us, but it's a lot more open after that. And so I think they're a little bit easier to shoot than the grouse. They're not quite as fast. They don't act like they used to back years ago. They would just helicopter up to the top of the cover, and they'd almost hesitate for a second and then shoot off. Now I don't know, they've gotten smarter over the years, but they actually kind of shoot out like a grouse will now on you. So they're getting a little bit tougher to shoot.
This is an interesting story because the other thing I hear is, they've changed in many ways. Now they run a lot more than they used to. Have you seen that as well?
I have. They'll run in what they call skating. They'll kind of get up and get the wings going, but not leave the ground and just skate across the ground. And I let my dogs relocate more now than I've ever. I never really let my dogs relocate, but you almost have to now.
Here's a history lesson for us. We all think that's why pheasants run so much. The ones who fly to escape get shot. We are watching the next version of that evolution, I think, in the Maine woods. Would you think, I mean, in your career, you've seen that change. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like years ago, that you'd never see a woodcock run. I mean, a lot of times you'd have to, you'd see them on the ground, and you'd literally have to get your foot 6 inches away from them and then kick at them to get them to fly.
Yeah.
But that's not the case anymore. I mean, sometimes you'll get them, if flight birds come in, you'll get them that are tired and they don't want to fly. But for the most part, you know, you got to get on them fairly quick when the dog's on point.
Yeah. I'm so rude. I usually start with this, and you should tell us a little bit about yourself and your dog. So why don't you give us a little backstory, Craig?
Well, I started bird hunting probably when I was 13, 14 years old with my brother. He's older than I am, and we never had dogs back then. We were just meat hunters. We would ride the roads and get out and shoot them when we saw them. And then he got into the bird dogs, and that got me hooked onto the bird dogs. And then back, I believe it was 95, I became a Maine guide and started guiding bird hunters with bird dogs. And so I've got English setters. I started out with Brittany's. I love the Brittany's, but I always wanted an English setter. And I bought a tricolor English setter a few years ago. Hunted that dog for probably 10 years. And then right now I have a little female Llewellyn setter, and I trained a dog from a guy in Ohio. I love the dog, and so I ended up paying way too much money for it. But now I have a Llewellyn. I mean, a Ryman setter to go along with it.
No, those Rymans are a little bit bigger, aren't they?
Yeah, this is a big dog.
Yeah,
he's close to 70 pounds.
I was being polite.
Yeah, that's his fighting weight is 70 pounds.
Wow. Yeah, compared to your Llewellyn, which is what?
25, 30.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's neat to hunt because we do it a little bit different. I went up to South Dakota one time on a pheasant hunt where they run 4 or 5, 6 dogs at the same time. Up here, we just run one dog at a time. We'll go into a cover, hunt it for, depending on the size of the cover, a half hour to an hour and a half. And then we'll switch out dogs and go someplace out and hunt another cover. So it's fun with my clients. You know, they'll see my little Llewellyn going 100 miles an hour through the woods and stuff. And then you put the big the big Ryman down, and he's, you know, a lot more methodic. And it's just 2 different sides of the setters.
I love it. Well, that's, you know, I'll tell you, we look at our second dog or our 5th dog or whatever. The first thing we want to do is we want them to be exactly like the dog we just had because we liked it so much. But they're never that way. So then you have to rationalize and decide, well, maybe it's going to be different in a good way. And it sounds like you got that, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I really did.
So
yeah, the guys that I bought the Ryman from actually, part of the deal was that I would give them a hunt up here for a week, and they come up 2 years ago and got to shoot a couple birds, well, a few birds over that dog and stuff, and
yeah,
and they were pretty impressed with the dog, both of the dogs actually.
And you know, just for the record, are you a registered Maine guide?
I am.
Yeah, that's not easy. I mean, you go through a process way harder than a lot of other places, and as such, you're the guy if we want to go to Maine and find a woodcock or a ruffed grouse. This season, whether it was your own or a client's, what was the highlight for you guys?
The highlight, I'm not sure. I mean, we just. They did a lot of good shooting. They got a lot of birds. No, didn't really have anything really amazing happen. On the positive, we had a couple negative things happen.
Yikes!
Yeah, we had a porcupine. One of the guys I guide has an English pointer, and for some reason, those dogs love porcupines. They don't just get into one and then leave. It was we pull it off, let the dog go, and he goes right back after the porcupine again. They just want to kill the porcupine. And so we spent a day at the vet with that dog. And in the middle of October, around October 20th, is when our coyote and fox trapping season opens up.
Yeah.
We did have one dog get into a trap, which traps aren't a big deal. You just hit the 2 levers and open them up. It doesn't really hurt the dog.
Yeah. This is a leg hold trap.
Just a foothold trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you know that stay away from them guys. And if they know that we're hunting, then the trappers won't trap where we're hunting. So it's a pretty good relationship that we have.
Let's go back to they both chill me to the bone, but the porcupine thing, there's a likelihood all of us at some point are going to need to deal with that. You said you took that dog to the veterinarian. It must have been full of quills based on how you described the encounter.
It was pretty bad.
Have you ever been able to catch a dog before it's that bad and pull them out yourself?
Well, the first setter I had, it's the only dog that I've ever had that ever got into a porcupine. And she probably had 20 quills in her. She just didn't like it. She got stung and she just got away from the porcupine.
Good.
I mean, she went over there to play with it, and the porcupine didn't want to play, and she never went near another one again. And so, but I don't know. The dogs and I love them. They're a fun dog to watch work, and they're a good dog. But I mean, I probably had, out of all the porcupine encounters, they've all been the pointers, the English pointers.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Out west, of course, the wirehairs have a reputation like that, and well earned if they have their German heritage still in them, because over there they're doing that stuff on a regular basis. As a guide, you see some interesting things. You see a lot of mistakes in the field that we make as your clients. If you wanted to tip us to some of the things that would help us have a better hunt, you've seen it all. What are some of the things some of the hints or helps that you could provide for us, Craig?
So some of the mistakes that I see, a couple of them is, especially using somebody else's dog, is a lot of the covers that we hunt where we park, there's usually a dirt road or a logging road, but we park most of the covers right at the start of the cover.
Oh,
so a lot of times the dogs will get out, especially the beginning of the hunt, the beginning of the first cover of the day. They'll let the dogs out, and the dog will run right down the middle of the path, 100 yards, 150 yards before it jumps into the cover, and it misses cover on both sides of it. So I guess my tip would be on that part of it is, when get the dog out, heel the dog up, and walk the dog into the cover right there where you start, and then have that dog work that part of the cover, because a lot of times we miss a lot of the cover hunting with other dogs.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, no, I was just saying, a lot of times, and it's funny with woodcock, they're almost always in the same place. Time after time, they're always in the same cover. I'll give you a little example of that. Last year, I was guiding a guy, and he had an old German short hair, and it was last year that he was going to hunt. He wasn't really hunting it as much as just letting it go. There's a little stand of sumac in the middle of a clear cut, and I said, something? There's almost always a bird in there. And it took us forever to get that dog to go in there. When he did, there was a woodcock. It popped up. The guy shot. It was the last bird he shot over that dog.
Yes.
But my point being, they always seem to be right in that same general area all the time.
I love that, and it's absolutely true. Hopefully many of us have a spot or two like that, maybe for our old dog, or maybe for an old hunting buddy. But describe why that patch always has a woodcock in it.
That is the great question, because I couldn't even begin to tell you.
Really?
I don't even know how. I just happened to walk over there one day, and I saw some spatter on the ground, and that's a crazy spot for a woodcock. And I always put up a woodcock in there every year.
You ever stick your finger in the ground? Is it moist and soft? Are they eating there or what?
Soft. Yeah, it is soft. It's probably a good spot for worms.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
I love it. What about grouse? I just made a note. I got to be somewhere I don't want to be. Well, I do want to be there. So, honey, if you're listening, I love that trip every year. But I'm going to try and find a grouse hunt in that country, and it's way different than your country, but most of us are going to hunt in the Northeast or the upper Midwest for grouse. If you had to narrow it down, are there some golden habitats like that sumac bush for we fledgling grouse hunters? I mean, what should we look for in the way of habitat?
So it's kind of different from, in this part of Maine where we're from, because we hunt a lot of I call them traditional covers, the old farms, the old apple orchards, places like that. And there's usually a clear cut with some nice young whips, saplings and stuff growing up into it. And so the old apple orchards, later in the year are really great areas to hunt for grouse.
Yeah.
Now, when you go up to the Allagash, which is like 3 or 4 hours north of us, or actually it's 4 or 5 hours north of us, into the big Maine woods, it's just a completely different cover. It's all logging roads, and you find the old clear cuts in the areas that are just 7-10 years old. It's just a different type of place to hunt.
Everybody talks about clear cuts, and you can even buy maps that have all that on them and everything. But what is it about the clear cuts themselves? And for those of you who may not know, they take every tree in a patch, and sometimes it's a gigantic patch. Out west, they're hundreds of acres. Up there, they're probably a little bit less. My experience has been that, at least. But what is in that clear cut after the trees are all gone, Craig, that makes it so amenable to rough grouse?
Well, I think when it starts to grow, that there's a lot of ground cover for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they like the edges of it. You find them on the edges of the clear cuts.
Yeah. Is it a kind of a shrub, or is it a grass, or what are they hiding under?
Yeah, no, it's shrubs, and it's uprooted trees where the skidders go through and stuff. And it's just little stuff. There's a couple clear cuts here that we hunt that's really good for and they're older clear cuts. They're not something that they just cut last year or the year before, and it's the older cuts. And they're not clear cutting around here as much as they used to. They're doing more select cutting now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes it a little bit tougher. You got to work through the big woods too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you were training a dog for grouse hunting, are there different things that you would work on than, say, if you were just going to live in South Dakota and hunt pheasants?
So, I've been to South Dakota once. It's just different dog work.
Yeah.
Than up here. It's still dog work. Maybe I'm a little biased here, but I think the dog work when you're hunting grouse and woodcock it's just a lot. So it's a lot more about the dogs than about the birds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I keep my dog steady to wing, steady to shot. I don't worry too much about steady to fall, because a lot of times you can't see the birds fall because it's a thick.
Yeah, if they fall at all. When you're guiding me, that's always a question.
Yeah.
Well, let's just describe a hunt. Take me on a grouse hunt, Craig Morrison. We get out of the truck, we do what you say, the dog's on a leash, we're going to walk right up to the edge of that cover, and we're going to go hunting. How far is your dog going to work from you, and is he patterning? Is he running to objectives? Take me on a grouse hunt.
So what I do, like when I'm running my dogs, is I don't let them get much more than 65, 70 yards away. 70 yards is too far.
Yeah. So,
between 50 and 60. And then, there's just, we just kind of work an area, moved on down. I've been hunting these covers for so long that I just know. And I almost think the dogs know how to work it. So there's not a lot of verbal.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't use whistles. I'll turn them sometimes. I'll just I use the command around here in the turn around and come in. So, but yeah, I keep them close working. The trick with grouse, well, you got to, with every point you got to assume it's a grouse, because they get up so much quicker. So they kind of put one of the guys out to the right, one guy to the left, and one behind the dog, and get there quick and as quietly as possible. And then if a grouse doesn't get up immediately, then you kind of go, okay, this is probably a woodcock, and then you kind of start searching around. One of the mistakes I make with my Rymans is that he's got such a long nose that I don't really search far enough out in front of the dog. I do when I'm guiding.
Yeah.
But when I'm by myself, I just kind of, I don't know how many times I release my dog and then the bird flies. And,
yeah, it happened yesterday here. Yeah. So even a pro like you has to trust your dog a little bit more.
Yeah, I really do.
Do you ever put a bell on your dog?
I am more of a traditional guy. I'm not a big. I do put a beeper on it, especially early in the year, because sometimes when I've had issues trying to find a dog on point before.
Yeah.
Just a bell. It's when in the fix. Well, what I do is I kick my beeper and I just put it on point mode, so it doesn't make any noise. I just follow the bell. If the dog is on point, then the beeper will go off. Yeah. I like the bells more than the beepers. I'm not a big technology guy to begin with, and I'm kind of more traditional. But
well, I love it. And we could talk all day. This is something I need to learn way more about before September 1st, 2025. So that'll be my promise. We'll talk again. And I'm glad your season was better than most. And glad you came out of it in one piece. Same for your dogs. That's Craig Morrison. He is a registered Maine guide, and I know a little bit about how hard that is to get that certification. Craig, it's been enjoyable. It's been fun. Have a great off season, and thanks for being a part of the Upland Nation podcast.
Thank you, Scott.
And we've still got a little bit to go here, including your chance at that word of the week. This month's prize is a set of Trulock choke tubes. We'll also have the Fix It segment where we'll discuss the ups and downs, if you will, of getting another dog as we enter our golden years. All coming up right here on the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, and this portion of the program is brought to you by MidwayUSA.com. Just got a new pair of boots. Better start breaking them in right now. Yeah, that's one of the many things you can find at MidwayUSA.com. Yeah, as they say, they've got something for everybody there. Everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors, from camping to fishing. If you sign up for their emails or text messaging, you'll get 10% off your next order. And on top of all of that, there's always a sale or a special of some sort. Yeah, that's where I go first for most of my gear, MidwayUSA.com. Customer satisfaction is their number one goal. And yes, with my veterinarian, I did shoot pretty darn well. Had a nice hard downhill left to right crosser. Dropped rag dead right in front of me on a big ringneck last week. Yeah, well, no. As this is recorded, yesterday. Sorry about that. It was a preserve bird. And I credit a lot of that to the high-vis sights. I keep getting questions from you on how it works. The simplest way to do it is go to highvissights.com, watch the video. It's very clear how your mind's eye and your two eyes need to work together to watch two different things at the same time. Those light pipes help you do that. Easy to switch out, change the colors, put them on different guns, the whole Megillah. Learn more at highvissights.com. Got a great question. In fact, I'm surprised I haven't heard this before. In face-to-face conversations, I get this question once in a while, and then I agonize over it frequently. Yes, when you become a certain age, these are the things we worry about. David Daigle asked this question, and I thought it was relevant enough that we should all at least open the discussion. Dave asks a basic question that many of us are up against. He says, I'm 72 years old, currently on my third Springer, having trouble deciding whether I want another dog. My current dog is 8+ years old. I've had 3 great ones and been very blessed. Should I get another puppy? And the answer is simple and complex, Dave. Speaking of Dave, if you have Gun Dog Magazine in front of you, open it up. I don't remember the page, but I wrote a letter to my friend Dave about him getting a new puppy at close to your age. That experience, and I've lived part of it with Dave and Prez, his Brittany, has been nothing but positive. And I don't mean the puppy keeps you young and all of that, but maybe that's really what it is. There is more light in his step and in his eyes, and there's just a joy that comes from a young dog when we are a little bit less young. But there's another side to that coin, and we'll get to that in a minute too. If the puppy will bring you joy and you can help that new dog grow and do his job frequently enough, then it's a win-win. But if you can't make it fair on the bird dog to let him chase birds frequently enough, then all of a sudden his life is not as rich as yours might be in that case. If you're truly concerned about effectively your dog outliving you, whether it's just because your knees went bad and you can't hunt anymore or not, maybe you should think about the path your dog will take after your hips give out. You got somebody who will take that dog and hunt it. Will the breeder take it back and find a new home for it? Maybe your spouse can do that, or a younger friend. If you have one or more alternatives like that, then the answer is unassailably yes in capital letters. If not, think twice about it. And hey, your other dog is only 8 years old. If it's like the dogs I know, that dog could be hunting for another 4, 5, 6 years. Probably keeping up with you at about the same pace too. So there's my answer. For what it's worth, everybody else can take that to heart in whatever way is most practical for you. Thanks for the question, Dave. Hey, it's time for the Fur Feathers Friends Word of the Week, as you know. And now, yes, we're all taking entries for that 4-pack of pointer shotguns. Your choice, over and under or side by side. So go to furfeathersfriends.com, enter to win. Just scroll down on the first page. You can't miss it. And fill in the word of the week so you are eligible for the new prize. This month, it's a set of Chad Hodge choke tubes from Trulock Chokes.com. The word of the week this week, hey, coincidentally, Springer. The word of the week is Springer at furfeathersfriends.com. And congratulations to Stephen Hofer, who won those Pike Gear Dakota pants from last month. Congratulations and good on ya. I asked in the entry form, who are you taking hunting next? And he is taking his best friend, Alex Matevi. So make sure you fill out that part too. That will be how you enter to win the monthly prize. Congratulations to both of you and have a great hunt. And thank you. If you enjoyed the podcast, please tell one person. If you would please leave a rating or a review at Apple Podcasts. Thank you to our sponsors, Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food, Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, Trulock Choke Tubes, MidwayUSA.com, Pointer Shotguns, and High Viz Shooting Systems. Yeah, I appreciate all your help. Amanda Ponti and Craig Morrison had a great time getting to know you both better. It's been a wonderful podcast for me. I hope you can say the same. I'm Scott Linden. Thanks for listening to the Upland Nation Podcast.